people were afraid of him. We were his teammates whom we were afraid of him. And there was just fear.
That's why when I threw it to you. I just threw it to you.
Ignore this guy. He's come through, but he's overplayed.
The fear factor of MJ was so thick.
Yeah, let's not get it wrong. He was a jerk. He crossed the line numerous times. But as time goes on and you think back about what he was actually trying to accomplish, you're like, yeah, he was a hell of a teammate.
He was pushing us all to be better because he wanted to win. And guess what? It worked.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I had no idea. I thought maybe I was 400 pounds, 450, and it turns out that I was 605 pounds. It told me I was pre-diabetic, my blood pressure was sky high, that I immediately got put on medication, and I could have possibly been on my deathbed. I immediately went home, and I ate. I ate and ate for maybe a week or two because I was depressed, and that's what I turned to. I turned to food. I was an emotional eater. And then I remember one day after eating, I decided to get in the shower, and everything that the doctor was saying, this hit me as I looked in the mirror, and I decided right then that I was going to change. A lot of times we have to find the things that work for us, whether it's diet, workouts, the time of day you're doing it. That's what I focus on. I focus on what I can do.
See, the hardest part about change is acknowledging that we have to do it. Admitting to ourselves that the actions we're doing are not going to lead us to where we want to go. Someone asked me the other day if I'd ever figured out why I was depressed when I was younger. As much as I would have hated to admit it at the time, all I ever wanted was to make my parents proud. And every time I failed or I let them down, it was easier to say that it was some fundamental part of me that I couldn't change than acknowledge the mountain of change I was going to have to overcome to be happy.
The sharper your axe is, the less strength you have to put to chopping down the tree. He's saying, take some time to sharpen the axe. Here's why people don't want to sharpen the axe, right? Because sharpening the axe doesn't bring applause. Nobody's clapping for you while you're sharpening the axe. Nobody's cheering for you, sharpen that axe, sharpen that axe. You've probably never heard that cheer, right? And one of the reasons you've never heard that cheer is because axe sharpening is something you do in private. And Solomon is telling us that the work we do in private affects and impacts the work we do in public. He's saying you're going to be much better off taking some time to prepare than you are just showing up to show out and perform. Everybody wants the praises of the crowd, but everybody doesn't want to prepare to be the kind of person the crowd praises.
If for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, by your own definitions, right, within the value structure that you've created, to the degree that you've done that, what would you be like? Well, you know, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were, if they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that. And so you could say, well, in part, perhaps the reason that you're suffering unbearably can be left at your feet, because you're not everything you could be, and you know it. And of course, that's a terrible thing to admit, and it's a terrible thing to consider, but there's real promise in it, right? Because it means that perhaps there's another way that you could look at the world, and another way that you could act in the world. So what it would reflect back to you would be much better than what it reflects back to you now. Start with yourself. What good are you? Get yourself together for Christ's sake, so that when your father dies, you're not whining away in a corner, and you can help plan the funeral, and you can stand up solidly so that people can rely on you. That's better. Don't be a damn victim. Of course you're a victim. Jesus, obviously, put yourself together. And then maybe if you put yourself together, you know how to do that. You know what's wrong with you, if you'll admit it. You know there's a few things you could like polish up a little bit, that you might even be able to manage in your insufficient present condition. And so you might shine yourself up a little bit, and then your eyes will be a little more open, then you can shine yourself up a little bit more, and then maybe you could bring your family together instead of having them be the hateful, spiteful, neurotic, infighting batch that you're like doomed to spend Christmas with.
There's a lot of intelligent people can't fight their way out of a paper bag, right? Hunger is the ultimate driver, because if you're hungry, you can get the strategy, you can get the answer. If you can't model it, you can find it. So hunger, modeling would be maybe the next best skill, knowing that success leaves clues. Like, why reinvent the wheel? If someone took this plane, was Mickey's plane, who owns the Miami Heat and owns Carnival, right? I mean, you can learn so much from a man like Mickey, blow your mind what this man has been able to do in his life. And so why would I go learn by trial and error and maybe take 10 or 20 years when I could learn from somebody in a few weeks or a few months or a few hours something that could save me a decade? That's what it is. That's why I read 700 books in the first 7 years, because I was like, if somebody takes 10 years of their life, they pour it into a book, and I can read that in an hour, 2 or 3 or 4, why wouldn't I?
The thing that us men, us men between about the ages of, I'll go as low as about 18, 20 years old, up to, all the way up to 50, right? We don't set clear goals. We need to set an intention, a destination. Where do I want to get? A specific goal, a specific destination, right? I need the address. What address am I trying to get to? Okay? If you don't set a destination, how in the hell are you going to get there? But if you know exactly where you want to go, you can do the specific research necessary to actually get there. So it's on you, okay? Your success is on you. Your attitude, you got to go out and be the one. You got to go out and be the person that pursues your dreams, pursues the things that you want. What is discipline? Discipline is basically doing the things that you know you need to do in order to get where you're trying to get, right? Doing the things you know you need to do in order to get where you want to get. It's a lot of you in that. They should spell discipline with you. It should just be one letter, you. It's on you. Discipline is on you. It's embedded in you to rebel. And you're rebelling against yourself. You're rebelling against your own well-being, to be honest with you. And that's what you have to overcome to defeat the final boss. You are the final boss.